Thank you for joining Wars of the Rosies as we continue with lesson 44. The greatest among you shall be your servant, of the International Esoteric and Illuminated Bible Lessons by Swinburne Clymer. International Illuminated Bible Lessons prepared for the Sunday Schools of the Church of Divine Illumination. Matthew, 23rd chapter, 1st to 13th verses. Golden text. He that is greatest among you shall be your servant. There is a vast difference in the greatness of the soul and the greatness of the material ambitions and influences. The world call an influential man great without regard to soul or spirit. A man may attain a high plane. He may be a king or a president. He may rule and govern many. And this is the man the world calls great. He may be heartless and soulless, still the world calls him great, but he is in no wise great in the spiritual. The great spiritual man is the man of great soul. The man who can live and think and serve and die for others is great. The great man in the worldly sense dies. The spiritually great man lives. A servant of Christ is not necessarily one who serves and waits on the material needs and pleasures of others, but it is necessary for him to serve in spirit in all things. If one must take the position of servant in a household, it does not lessen one in the spirit. The servant who is great in soul is far above the master who is without soul. Verse 1. Then spake Jesus to the multitudes and to his disciples. Verse 2, saying, The scribes and Pharisees sit in Moses' seat. They sat themselves up as teachers of the law and in the synagogues. Verse 3, All, therefore, whatsoever they bid you observe and do. But do ye not after their works, for they say and do not. They were hypocrites. They taught the law of Moses, but they did not obey that law themselves. They were wicked in their hearts and in secret did evil. Their teachings were good, but they did not practice what they preached, and therefore were not true disciples of the law and of truth. Verse 4, For they bind heavy burdens and grievous to be bore, and they lay them upon men's shoulders, but they themselves will not remove them with one of their fingers. Did you ever know a teacher or a preacher who exacted much work, much pay, much reverence from his followers, but who gave nothing in return, who did not work only when the multitudes were watching them, and that in the ceremonious and showy part? These people are all of the same class. You have known them. They promise much, but do nothing. Verse 5, But all their works they do to be seen of men. They make broad their phylacteries and enlarge the borders of their garments. Verse 6, And they love the uppermost rooms at the feast, and the chief seats in the synagogues. Verse 7, And greeting in the markets, and to be called of men, Rabbi, Rabbi. Praise and self-glory and worldly power they seek and claim. Among these are the black magicians, who claim much and teach many, but do not even follow the little truth in what they teach. Verse 8, But be ye not called Rabbi, for one is your master, even Christ, and all are brethren. Call no man master until you know he is a Christ, a Son of the living God, and teacher and doer of truth. Verse 9, And call no man your father upon the earth, for one is your Father which is in heaven. This has no reference whatever to your earthly parents, but many teachers are called spiritual fathers, who are not fatherly or heavenly in the least. These call not Father. There is but one Father, which is within you. When your mind and soul are purified and is awakened in his likeness. Verse 10, Neither be ye called master, for one is your master, even Christ. Do not follow every teacher who calls himself master until he is illuminated and attains the Christ. When the soul is illuminated and is pure, humble, helpful, and seeks to benefit mankind, then it is a master in Christ. There are none masters but the Christ, and remember this: no master ever calls himself a master. He who is a master does not talk. He who talks is no master. Verse 12. And whosoever shall exalt himself shall be abased, and he that shall humble himself shall be exalted. No one can exalt himself and become a worthy disciple, and he who seeks to exalt self destroys the real self, the soul. For the selfish, unrighteous soul dies and is, therefore, abased. To humble oneself is to become receptive and meek in the attainment of the truth, the soul beautiful and the love of righteousness. The true soul is exalted above all the carnal world and its evils and lust. He who says, I am master, is a liar and knows not the truth. Thank you for watching, and please don't forget to share, like, subscribe, and comment. And if you can, please consider donating to Wars of the Rosies. Links to PayPal and Patreon are in the description. Thank you so very much.